In this video, I'm here to talk to you about the use of force workflow that gets completed after the officer fills out the use of force report. So right now, it is at the sergeant level. It already has been submitted by the officer. I can view that use of force incident that the officer submitted. One thing I have the ability to do if I realize that something needed to be changed is I can request changes. From here, I can tell them what needs to be changed. Spelling of offender information was wrong. So I'm going to submit that. When I submit that, the officer then will get an email letting him know his report was rejected. So now it's down to back to the patrol officer. He's going to be able to see what the sergeant asked him to do. He's going to be able to go down, fix whatever problem needed to be done. And when he's done with that, he can resubmit that up to the sergeant again. So I'm going to add that in, hit OK, and submit this back to the sergeant. Remember, this is after I've fixed my mistakes. The sergeant will get an email letting him know that it's ready for him to review again. He can come in here and review it. Now the mistakes have been fixed. He can then come to the bottom here. He can sign off on it. And then let's say this now goes to a lieutenant or commander or whatever it is within your police department. That person can be added in. And now we're going to submit it to them for supervisors for review. This comment section is for a recommendation. So if I say my recommendation is the use of force was justified, I can put that in here, submit that, and that now will be saved as a comment as we send that through. So now we're at like the second tier. So at the second tier level, I can review the same use of force report. At the bottom here, you can see the recommendation. And I also have the ability to request changes. But note this, doesn't go to the assigned supervisor. It goes all the way back to the patrol officer who has to make that change and then has to come up the same workflow before this reviewing supervisor sees it again. So the officer would send it to a sergeant who would re-sign off on it, then the reviewing supervisor would, and so on. So in this case, we're going to say everything's fine. I'm going to sign off on it. And I'm going to send this, let's say, to the chief of police. This is whoever is in charge and is the final sign-off on all use of force reports. So I'm going to submit for final approval. This, again, I can put a recommendation in if I so choose. And now the chief just got an email letting him know there's a use of force ready for him to review. He can come in here and review the use of force incident. When he does that, he can also have the ability to request changes. But again, that goes all the way back to patrol level. So it'd have to go back to patrol, then the sergeant, then the lieutenant, and now the chief would have to sign off on it. So if the chief says, yep, we are good, everything's justified, and nothing needed to be done, he's going to sign off on it, and we're done. If we're not justified, there's a high probability we're going to create an IA investigation, and you get to do that right within our software platform. So no need to open something else up. It's all here ready to go. So in this example, I'm going to say we're justified. Chief signs off on it. After he signs off on it, it goes and click the button save. If everything's filled out, the disposition will actually turn red, and he can disposition that out and complete the use of force incident. So from doing that, it went from a pending use of force incident to a completed use of force incident.